I want to start with a question. How many of you have ever stayed in a relationship, a friendship, or even a family dynamic long past its expiration date? You knew deep in your gut that something wasn't right, and yet you stayed. You made excuses. You told yourself, it's not that bad. I get it. I've been there. We're wired for connection, and cutting ties with someone, especially someone we once cared about, feels like breaking a piece of ourselves. But here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to walk with us forever. Some people come into our lives as lessons, not lifelong companions. And sometimes the bravest thing we can do is let go. Let's talk about boundaries. Not the kind you put on a map, but the kind that protect your emotional, mental, and even physical well-being. Boundaries are not walls. They are guidelines. They are the rules you set for how people can treat you, how they can speak to you, and what kind of energy they can bring into your space. When someone repeatedly ignores, dismisses, or outright violates those boundaries, it's not a mistake, it's a choice. And that choice tells you everything you need to know about how much they respect you. Think about it. If you tell someone, hey, I don't like it when you speak to me that way, or I need space when I'm upset, and they continue to ignore those requests, they are sending a clear message. My comfort is more important than your needs. That's not love. That's control, that's entitlement, that's disrespect dressed up as stubbornness or just the way they are. And here's the hard part. When you set a boundary, people who benefited from your lack of them will get upset. They'll call you difficult. They'll say you're being too sensitive. They'll say you're being too selfish. They might even try to make you feel guilty for standing up for yourself. But let me be clear. Your boundaries are not up for debate. If someone truly values you, they will respect the boundaries you set. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because they care about your comfort as much as they care about their own. But if someone consistently crosses those lines and expects you to just deal with it, that's not someone who deserves access to you. At the end of the day, boundaries are about one thing, self-respect. And self-respect means understanding that you don't have to keep explaining, negotiating, or proving why you deserve to be treated with care. If someone refuses to respect your limits, you have every right to walk away, because boundaries aren't just a suggestion, they are non-negotiable. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely drained, even though nothing outwardly terrible happened? Or maybe you've been around someone who didn't say anything negative, but their presence left you feeling small, anxious, or unsettled. That's not a coincidence. That's energy. We often get caught up in what people say. Promises, apologies, explanations, but words are easy. Words can be rehearsed, manipulated, and used to deceive. Energy, however, doesn't lie. It's the unspoken language of every interaction, and it tells you far more than words ever will. Think about someone in your life who constantly makes you feel like you're walking on eggshells. Maybe they don't openly criticize you, but there's a tension in the air when they're around. Maybe they smile when you talk about your dreams, but there's something in their tone that makes you second guess yourself. Maybe they say they love and support you, but deep down you feel like you're being drained instead of uplifted. That's energy speaking. When you ignore energy and only listen to words, you allow yourself to be misled. Someone can say they care about you, but consistently show up late, cancel plans last minute, or disappear when you need them. They can tell you they respect you, but they laugh at your boundaries and make you feel guilty for having needs. They can say they're happy for you, but their energy shifts when you succeed. Your body knows before your mind does. That discomfort, that tightness in your chest, that deep, inexplicable exhaustion you feel after being around certain people, that's your intuition screaming at you to pay attention. It's telling you that something is off. And here's where we go wrong. We gaslight ourselves. We say, maybe I'm just overthinking. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. But no, you're not being too much. You're not imagining things. You're feeling things that your logical mind hasn't caught up to yet. It's time to start trusting the energy in the room more than the words coming out of someone's mouth. Because at the end of the day, actions may speak louder than words, but energy shouts the truth before actions even have a chance. Let's get something straight. Love should never feel like control, guilt, or fear. Yet so many of us stay in relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships, where manipulation is mistaken for care, where guilt is disguised as love, where control is framed as concern. Manipulation is sneaky. It doesn't always come in obvious forms like yelling or demanding. Sometimes it's subtle. It's the sigh after you say no. It's the guilt trip disguised as, I just want what's best for you. It's the way they make you feel selfish for prioritizing your own needs. It's them playing the victim every time you try to set a boundary. And here's the hard part. Manipulation doesn't always come from people who seem bad. It can come from people who genuinely believe they love you. But love without respect, freedom, and honesty isn't really love. It's control. How to recognize manipulation disguised as love. They make you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. Have you ever tried to take care of yourself, set a boundary, or say no to something, and suddenly you're the villain? After everything I've done for you, they say, I guess I just don't matter to you. This isn't love. Love allows room for your needs. Love doesn't hold scorecards or make you feel like you owe someone your time, energy, or emotions. They twist reality to make themselves the victim. Ever had a conversation where you brought up something that hurt you and somehow by the end of it you're apologizing? That's manipulation. If someone constantly makes themselves the victim and refuses to acknowledge their actions, they are using emotional manipulation to escape accountability. They control you under the disguise of caring. I just don't want you to get hurt. I am only doing this because I care. If you really loved me, you wouldn't do this. These phrases sound like concern, but if they come with control, like limiting who you talk to, what choices you make, or how you express yourself, it's not love. Love supports, it does not restrict. They give you love in exchange for compliance. Love should never feel conditional. If someone only treats you kindly when you do what they want, but withdraws affection, attention, or respect when you don't, that's manipulation. Love is not something you should have to earn. It's something that should be given freely. They make you question your own feelings. You're being too sensitive. That never happened. You're overreacting. If someone constantly dismisses your feelings, rewrites history, or makes you doubt your own experience, that's gaslighting. And gaslighting is one of the most toxic forms of manipulation. Love shouldn't hurt like this. Real love doesn't demand, control, or guilt trip. Real love doesn't make you feel small. Real love allows space for individuality, for mistakes, for growth. So if someone in your life is constantly making you feel guilty, exhausted, or unsure of yourself, it's time to ask the hard question. Are they loving you or are they manipulating you? And if the answer is the latter, then you already know it's time to walk away. Because manipulation is not love, and you deserve better. Have you ever shared good news with someone only to feel like their reaction didn't match your excitement? Maybe they gave you a half-hearted, "That's great," before changing the subject. Maybe they downplayed your success with a passive-aggressive remark like, "Must be nice to get that lucky." Or maybe, worst of all, they made your moment about them, turning your achievement into their loss, their jealousy, their insecurity. That's not what real connection feels like. That's not love. That's not friendship. Real connections don't compete with you. They celebrate you. How to recognize people who truly celebrate you. They clap when you win without hesitation. Think about the last time something amazing happened in your life. Who were the people that genuinely cheered for you? Who made you feel like your success was their success? Real friends, real partners, and real family don't shrink in the presence of your light. They shine with you. They don't feel threatened by your growth. Some people only like you when you're struggling. It makes them feel needed, superior, or safe. But the moment you start growing, getting healthier, chasing dreams, demanding better treatment, they become distant, dismissive, or even cruel. Real connections don't fear your evolution, they encourage it. Speak highly of you even when you're not around. Pay attention to how people talk about you to others. The ones who truly celebrate you will uplift your name in rooms you're not even in. They will defend you, advocate for you, and share your wins as if they were their own. Fake friends, on the other hand, they'll stay silent, or worse, they'll tear you down behind your back. They don't make your moment about them ever had someone react to your success with, wow, I wish that could happen to me, or, oh, I could never get that lucky. Instead of celebrating you, they make it about their own lack, their own jealousy, their own need for validation. Real friends don't turn your joy into their pity party. They hold space for you. They let you shine. They support you even when it's not convenient for them. It's easy to celebrate someone when it benefits you, when you're part of their success, when you get to share the spotlight. But what about when it has nothing to do with them? Real connections will support you even when there's nothing in it for them. They'll show up, they'll root for you, they'll invest in your happiness simply because they want to see you happy. They remind you of your strength when you forget celebration isn't just about the highs, it's about lifting each other up through the lows. The right people in your life won't just cheer for you when you're winning. They'll remind you who you are when you feel like you're losing. They'll celebrate your effort, your growth, your resilience, even when you don't see it yourself. Why this matters. Your circle influences your confidence, your dreams, and your sense of self. If you're constantly surrounded by people who minimize your success, make you feel guilty for growing, or secretly resent your progress, it will dim your light. You'll start playing small, you'll shrink to make others comfortable. And that is not the life you are meant to live. You deserve people who clap loudly, love deeply, and cheer unapologetically. People who don't just tolerate your growth, but inspire it. People who make you feel seen, valued, and celebrated, not just when it's easy, but always. So here's the hard truth. If you find yourself around people who can't celebrate you, they are not your people. And that means you have two choices. Stay small to keep them comfortable, or step into the fullness of who you are and make room for those who truly belong in your life. And let me tell you, the right people will always, always celebrate you. We've all been there. Someone hurts us, lets us down, or breaks our trust, and then comes the apology. Maybe they sound sincere, maybe they promise to change, maybe they even get emotional, swearing they'll never do it again. And in that moment, we want to believe them. We want to believe that their words mean something, but here's the truth. Apologies don't mean anything without action. It's easy to say, I'm sorry. It's easy to cry, to explain, to promise, but words are just words if they aren't followed by real, lasting change. And too often we get caught in a cycle of hurt, apology, repeat, where the same person keeps hurting us and we keep forgiving them because we think their apology is proof that they care. But caring isn't about how sorry someone says they are. It's about what they do after the apology. How to recognize when an apology is just empty words. They keep doing the same thing. If someone keeps breaking your trust, disrespecting your boundaries, or hurting you in the same way, despite apologizing for it before, that's not a mistake. That's a pattern. And patterns tell you more than words ever will. Their apology comes with excuses. A real apology doesn't sound like, "I'm sorry, but you made me do it," or "I'm sorry, but I was just having a bad day." That's not an apology, that's deflection. If someone can't take full responsibility for their actions, they're not truly sorry. They just want to get out of trouble. They expect forgiveness without doing the work. An apology isn't a free pass. If someone truly wants to make things right, they will put in the effort to rebuild trust. They will show you through their actions that they are committed to being better. If someone expects you to move on immediately without making any changes, their apology is just a tool to keep you from walking away. They only apologize when they get caught. Pay attention to when the apologies come. Do they genuinely regret what they did, or are they just sorry they got caught? Do they take the initiative to fix things, or do they only say sorry when they realize they might lose you? A real apology comes from a place of accountability, not damage control. They guilt trip you for not accepting their apology right away. A true apology is about making amends, not forcing forgiveness. If someone apologizes and then immediately says, "I said I was sorry, what more do you want?" Or, "Wow, I guess you just want to stay mad," that's manipulation, not remorse. Real change is patient. Real accountability understands that trust takes time to rebuild. Why consistency matters. At the end of the day, words don't heal wounds, change behavior does. You can't believe in apologies if they are not backed up by real, consistent action. If someone says they will do better, they should prove it over time, not just in the heat of the moment when they're afraid of losing you. Love, respect, and trust aren't built on promises, they're built on patterns. So the next time someone apologizes, don't just listen to what they say, watch what they do. Because a real apology doesn't need to be repeated over and over. A real apology shows up in everyday actions. A real apology means they don't have to say, "I'm sorry" again, because they never put you in the position to need one. Let's get one thing straight. Your peace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's not something you should have to earn or fight for. It's not something you should feel guilty about protecting. And it's definitely not something you should sacrifice just to keep someone else comfortable. Too often, we stay in relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships, that disrupt our peace. We convince ourselves that it's normal to feel drained, anxious, or uneasy around certain people. We tell ourselves, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm expecting too much, maybe this is just how relationships are. But deep down, you know the truth. You know that every time you interact with this person, your energy shifts. You feel small, you feel exhausted, you feel like you have to be someone you're not just to keep the peace. But here's the thing, if keeping the peace with someone else costs you your own, it's not peace. It's self-betrayal. How to recognize when someone is disrupting your peace. You feel drained after every interaction. Energy doesn't lie. If someone consistently makes you feel exhausted, anxious, or emotionally depleted after spending time with them, that's a sign. Healthy relationships should refill your cup, not leave you running on empty. Can't be yourself around them. Do you constantly filter yourself? Do you hold back from expressing your true thoughts, opinions, or feelings because you know they'll react negatively? A relationship that forces you to shrink is not a relationship worth keeping. If you're always walking on eggshells, if you have to carefully craft every word you say, analyze their moods before speaking, or avoid certain topics to prevent an argument, that's not peace. That's emotional exhaustion. And no one deserves to live like that. They constantly bring chaos and drama into your life. Some people thrive on drama. They always have a crisis, always have a problem, and always pull you into their storm. But you weren't put on this earth to be an emotional dumping ground for someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own peace. You're always defending yourself. A peaceful relationship should not feel like a courtroom. If you're constantly explaining yourself, defending your boundaries, or justifying your feelings, that's a red flag. The right people won't make you fight for your right to be heard and respected. Your mental and emotional health are suffering. Pay attention to how your body reacts. Are you more anxious? Do you feel emotionally drained? Are you losing sleep? Ignoring these signs won't make them go away. Prioritizing your peace means listening to what your mind and body are telling you, choosing your peace over someone else's comfort. Here's the hardest part. Sometimes protecting your peace means letting go of people you care about. It means walking away from relationships that once meant the world to you. It means accepting that some people will call you selfish for choosing yourself. But let me tell you something. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It's survival. It's self-respect. It's honoring your own well-being the same way you've honored everyone else's for so long. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. And if someone continuously disrupts your peace, drains your energy, or makes you question your worth, then you have every right to cut them off. Not because you don't love them, but because you finally love yourself enough to walk away. Because at the end of the day, your peace is not up for negotiation. At the core of it all, this isn't just about cutting people off. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about finally honoring what you've known deep down all along. You deserve relationships that feel safe, supportive, and real. You deserve people who respect your boundaries, whose energy uplifts you, who love you without conditions or manipulation. You deserve connections that celebrate you, not ones that make you question your worth. You deserve consistency over empty apologies, and above all, you deserve peace, real, uninterrupted peace. And I know letting go isn't easy. Walking away from someone you once loved, trusted, or built a life with can feel like grief. But here's what I need you to remember. You are not responsible for fixing people who refuse to change. You are not required to set yourself on fire just to keep someone else warm. Protecting your peace, enforcing your boundaries, and choosing your well-being over toxic relationships is not selfish. It is self-respect. It is self-love. It is freedom. So if someone continuously disrespects you, drains you, manipulates you, or makes you feel small, give yourself permission to let go. You don't need their approval. You don't need their permission. You only need the courage to choose yourself. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. And you deserve to be surrounded by people who see your worth, not just in words, but in the way they treat you every single day.